Welcome to Lil's Vintage World. Recently I hit 5,000 subscribers, and sticking with the tradition, I thought I'd share with you one of my shelves on my bookcase. Today I'm sharing with you my Persephone bookshelf. So the dream of this shelf is eventually for it all to be Persephone books. However, I am not buying any more Persephone books until I have read the ones that I currently own. So yes, I will talk you through each book, ones that I've read, not read, and the other books that I have to the side of me as well. So let's just do a little overview so you can see the whole shelf. So as you can see, I have a lot of the grey Persephone books, moving through to the coloured. And on the end there, I have other books, including Virago, and a mug as well. The first book on this shelf is Mariana by Monica Dickens. I haven't read this one, but I have heard great things, so I'd like to get to this one soon. Another unread, this is For Dirty by Susan Glassville. Also unread, The Homemaker by Dorothy Canfield Fisher, another one I've heard great things of. Then my favourite book of all time, and of course my favourite Persephone, in the grey edition, this is Miss Pettigrew Lives for a Day by Winifred Watson. You'll see that I have another edition of this in a moment. A House in the Country by Jocelyn Playfair, another unread Persephone. Another unread, this is The Cargills at Home by Thea Holm. A read one now, this is Greenery Street by Dennis McHale. I've done a review of this one. This is about a young couple that go and live in Greenery Street because that is where young married couples go to live. It's funny, it's warm, it's witty, it's charming. It's a great Persephone. Another read one, another reviewed one. This is The Wise Versions by Leonard Woolf, husband of Virginia Woolf. This book is about a young artist who should try to decide who he wants to marry. Should he marry the suitable or unsuitable? Another read one, this is Lady Rose and Mrs. Memory, I'm not quite sure, by Ruby Ferguson. This one is a bit like a fairy tale sort of thing. I believe it was the late Queen Mother's favourite book. Back to the unreads, this is A Very Great Profession by Nicola Bowman. A read one, this is Miss Bunkle's book by D.E. Stevenson, which is about a woman who writes a book and uses a lot of the people based on her village as her characters, and people get a little bit annoyed. It's good, it's warm, it's witty. I think a lot of people have read this Persephone. It's a great book. High Wages by Dorothy Whipple. Dorothy Whipple is a staple of Persephone, and this book is about working in a shop in the early part of the 20th century. Another favourite of my Persephones now, this is To Bed with Grand Music by Margarita Lasky. This is the only one of hers that I've read, but it is brilliant. It is about fidelity, and it's just amazing. Back to the unread, this is No Surrendered by Constance Maud. I'm quite ashamed to say I've never read this book because this book is about the suffragettes. I don't know why I haven't read it yet, but I can show you that the end papers are also the colours of the suffragette movement. So I do need to get to this one soon. Another unread, this is Greenbanks by Dorothy Whipple. As you can see, I picked this up from a charity shop, but I can't get the sticker off, and it's really annoying me. Another favourite Persephone book of mine, this is Patience by John Coates. It is absolutely marvellous. And lastly, of the grey editions, we have The Call by Edith Arton Zangwill. This is, again, on the suffragettes, but I have read this one and it was brilliant, and you should read it too. Okay, moving on to the grey, to the coloured editions that Persephone do for their most popular works. Again, these are a mixture of read and unread, starting with an unread. This is Good Evening, Mrs. Craven, The Wartime Stories of Molly Panter Downs. The next one is Cheerful Weather for the Wedding by Julia Strachey. I have read and reread this one a couple of times and love it very, very much. I've also watched a film, which I also love. Next is The Making of a Marchioness by Frances Hodgson Burnett. I enjoyed this one. There's two parts of this story, and I remember one part is much better than the other, but I can't remember which one. I also remember they did an adaptation of this, and I enjoyed that as well. Now, I'm ashamed to say I can't actually remember if I've read this or not. This is Someone at a Distance by Dorothy Whipple. I think I might have tried it but not succeeded, but I just can't remember. So if I have read it, it's definitely due a reread, and if not, definitely just due a read. And then here she is, my favourite book, Miss Pettigrew Lives for a Day by Winifred Watson. This is the copy of Miss Pettigrew that I read all the time. So yes, it's beautiful, it's wonderful, and it has illustrations inside too. Right, I'll move on to these other books now next to it. Next to that, you might have seen was a mug, and this is the mug. It is a Horrible Histories one, and it is one of the gorgeous Georgians. I don't drink out of it, I put in bookmarks and bits and bobs, things like that. And it says, "I may have breeding, but my hair needs weeding." I think that's brilliant. So starting off, I have my Angela Thirkells. I am continually collecting Angela Thirkells as they keep coming out, published by Virago in these lovely, wonderful covers. Starting with Wild Strawberries, August Folly, High Rising, Summer Half, Pomfret Towers, The Brandons, and Christmas at High Rising. Then I have, for some reason, kept this copy of Map and Lucia by E.F. Benson. I love this copy, so that's why I've kept it. It's very beautiful, and yeah, it's just wonderful. So I've kept the book, despite the fact that I do own some beautiful editions of E.F. Benson's Map and Lucia series. Then I have The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath, one that I've read and enjoyed and would like to reread again. As Spoons Came from Woolworths by Barbara Commons. I've read this, loved it. I gave it 5 stars. I thought it was brilliant. I've read a couple of other of Barbara's works. I've read The Vet's Daughter and Sisters by a River, but I didn't enjoy those. But I love this one and can see myself rereading again and again. I then have this beautiful copy of The Weather in the Streets by Rosamund Lehman. I've done a review of this not too long ago, actually. It was a brilliant, brilliant book, and I highly recommend it. And then lastly, I have the start of my Elizabeth Taylor books that I have read. My unread Elizabeth Taylor I keep elsewhere. Eventually, I think Elizabeth Taylor, as she has 12 novels, I think she'll just have a shelf by herself. But to start with, this beautiful copy of In a Summer Season by Elizabeth Taylor, At Mrs. Lippincott's or Lippincott's by Elizabeth Taylor, which is her first published novel from 1945. And finally, the amazing Mrs. Palfrey at the Claremont, also by Elizabeth Taylor. So there we are, that is my Persephone bookshelf. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up and chat to me in the comment section, and I shall see you soon for the next video. Bye!